Hello, and welcome back to the Manufacturing Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Mayer. It's fantastic to have you with us as we unravel another chapter in the dynamic world of manufacturing. Before we jump in, a quick reminder to check out our website at Manufacturing Culture Podcast and connect with us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram for more engaging content. Today's episode features a guest who's not just shaping the present of automation, but also redefining its future. We have with us Malachi Greb, the visionary founder and CEO of Elite Automation. Under Malachi's leadership, Elite Automation has grown from a budding startup to a major player in the automation industry, known for its cutting-edge solutions and a team of 25 talented professionals. Malachi's journey from his early entrepreneurial spark to becoming a revered leader in automation is a story of innovation, perseverance, and visionary thinking. What sets Elite Automation apart isn't just their technical prowess, but their commitment to redefining the boundaries of what automated systems can achieve. From robotic cells equipped with advanced vision technology to comprehensive safety systems that integrate seamlessly with existing workflows, Malachi and his team are at the forefront of automation technology. They've undertaken projects that not only showcase their technical expertise, but also reflect their drive to deliver systems that leave their clients in awe. Malachi's influence extends beyond the confines of his company. As a 20 distinguished alumnus and a leading voice on LinkedIn with over 19 followers and counting, he shares his insights, engages with the community, and sparks discussions on the future of automation and its role in transforming education and our everyday lives. His commitment to innovation is matched by his dedication to using technology as a tool for positive change. In today's conversation, we'll dive into Malachi's journey, exploring the challenges and triumphs of building Elite Automation. We'll uncover the stories behind their most innovative projects and discuss Malachi's views on the evolving role of automation in industry and society. How does he envision the future of automation in manufacturing? What drives his passion for transforming education through technology? And what advice does he have for aspiring entrepreneurs and innovators in this rapidly changing landscape? So buckle up, listeners, as we embark on this enlightening journey with Malachi Greb. You're in for a conversation that's not just informative, but also a glimpse into the future of manufacturing and automation. Hello, Malachi. Welcome to the Manufacturing Culture Podcast. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on the podcast. I think culture is a huge thing to be discussed on in this industry, and it kind of gets neglected quite a bit. So this is a really cool place to be.
I really appreciate you being here. Malachi, we talked about your followers on LinkedIn, but you also have a podcast vlog type show yourself. Before we dive into some of our conversation, tell us about that real quick.
Yes, for the podcast, it's the Manufacturing Come Up, where we discuss career paths, really extracting the stories of other people and how their journey throughout their career has guided them to make decisions throughout their career, different learning points that people have established throughout their career. Some of these people have spent their entire career. They've been 20, 30, 40 years in the industry, and some even operating, billion-dollar companies as CEOs. So definitely a cool place to be able to extract information from people to really help guide people through their careers. And then we also, just Elite Automation YouTube channel itself is really just all different types of things, automation and manufacturing related, everything from like automation tips and tricks and how to get started automating to also navigating your career and some more like let's say headshot type of videos of just giving advice on careers and whatnot.
That's awesome, man. So listeners, viewers, if you're on YouTube right now, if you like this podcast, if you like this show, you're really going to enjoy the Manufacturing Come Up. It's a lot like this show where we tell stories, but they talk about it from that educational point of view. It's a phenomenal show. Definitely suggest anybody out there listening, give that one a shot. Malachi, the first question that we always ask everybody on the podcast is exactly what you talk about on Manufacturing Come Up. Talk to us about your journey. Tell us how you are where you are today. What inspired you to enter the automation industry and eventually led to you creating Elite Automation?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it's been a crazy journey so far. Where I'm currently at today is I'm the CEO of Elite Automation. We're still a fairly young company. I think we're just hit like our 4-year mark, or we're hitting our 4-year mark this year. And we're already doing millions of dollars in revenue, which is just mind blowing. This year, we've already got purchase orders for our entire revenue for last year. We have purchase orders already for this year to already overcome that same revenue number. So that's just mind blowing.
Congratulations. That's huge.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And, so that gives you a good standpoint of where I'm currently at. I came from the controls engineering and project management side of things in our industry. And, there's a lot of things that really kind of, nurtured me and guided me to get to where we are at today. And it's really kind of funny because some of my original business aspirations were not really in automation. I spent my entire career in automation, but at one point in time, I was looking for like passive income and how to make some extra money, and I'd spent a lot of time at that point educating myself on fitness and working out. And I was like, okay, well, I'll start like a fitness YouTube channel. So that's what I did, and I operated that fitness YouTube channel, posting a video every single week for years, and it really wasn't gaining much traction. I mean, don't get me wrong, I gained like some 1,000-something followers or 2,000 followers on that channel, but the fitness market was a very saturated market. Day job as an automation expert and doing controls and doing project management, and the two things really didn't have much alignment to one another. But one of the major takeaways that I got from the YouTube thing and running that fitness channel is I learned a tremendous amount about marketing, because you're always asking that question of like how to grow a YouTube channel, how to, and so it takes you down this rabbit hole of questions that are really relevant to like marketing and different social media platforms, and like just that whole conversation and that whole, sector of knowledge. And, so gained a tremendous amount about marketing through that. And then I made the decision that, I was going to give of myself to automation. I was already probably considered an expert in automation during that period of time, but there's like some study that those who spend like 2 extra hours a day outside of their 9-to-5 job, they can become an expert. Like, I don't remember what it is, like 10 times quicker than somebody who just spends their time in the industry. And that's because the 2 extra hours that you're spending, educating yourself on the industry is tailored. It's very concentrated learning on a particular thing. Whereas like a lot of times on our like 9-to-5 job, we're executing whatever thing is in front of us that has to be done, versus like spending some time trying to learn something. So that's what I did. I pretty much devoted all my time into nothing but automation. And also at this point in time, I was working like anywhere between like 60 and 20-hour weeks. Like, it was a ridiculous amount of work that I was working, which also gave, light to another reason why like doing the fitness YouTube thing was like a challenge. I'm also trying to make YouTube videos for that while working these ridiculous amount of hours at the 9-to-5 job. So, through this, I kind of had the mindset of I wanted to grow and I wanted to do more. I wanted opportunity, and I decided that I was also going to take and spend as much energy as I could to help grow the company that I was currently working at. It was a small company. I think at their biggest, they was at like, maybe 20 employees or something like that. And so I just devoted myself to helping them grow their company. I wanted to be in some type of executive role, and I knew if I helped them grow their company in a way that, they were substantially successful, then the opportunity would potentially be raised to me as well. And so I did that for a year straight. And I got past that 1 year, and I kind of realized that just due to leadership, that the company was never going to be where I really needed it to be. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take this next year. I'm going to examine everything I can within this company and see how it operates, see where there's weaknesses, see what they're doing right. And in that 1 year, if things still haven't changed, I'm going to branch off and start my own company doing the same thing. And so I did that as well. I spent the next 1 year really just examining things and just learning the business, learning as much as I could, and also just getting more industry experience in general. And that year came around, and I was still kind of set on that same decision. And there was some other players in that company that had left the company, and they left the company due to some, I'll just say, not so good things and company related. And so that was kind of a trigger for me. Is like, okay, this is not a good place to be anyway. So it was probably at that time I made the decision that, okay, I'm going to start this company. I went ahead and legalized the company, and I think I continued to work there for like 6 more months. Gave them a project notice, like, hey guys, this is my last project with you guys, and after I leave here, I'm going to be starting my own company doing the same thing. And I was lucky enough that they granted it without like any like legal obligations or anything like that. Really, the only requirements I had is just don't target our customers.
Sure.
And so the breakaway went pretty smoothly, but I definitely learned a lot through the process and through the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like a heck of a journey there. I mean, let's dive right into the culture of it then as well, right? Let's talk about how, because it sounds like your journey led you to where you are now was a little bit of cultural misalignment, right? And we had talked about having you on because I want to talk about how automation can help improve company culture. But do you want to dissect the company culture of where you were and how that's helped you shape the culture that you have at Elite Automation?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one thing that was a major disconnect culture wise, for myself within that company is, again, like I wanted to become like an executive of the company, right? I wanted to be in like an executive type of status. I didn't necessarily have to own my own company, but I wanted to be in that type of leadership role. And, one big thing is if like the number one people in the company, the number one leaders, the business owners or CEOs or whoever's the main people operating the company, they really need to put in front of people the vision of the company, the goals of the company. They need to have these set, and they need to have them set in a public manner, because if they don't, then you're not giving any vision, you're not giving any growth to the employees. And if an employee thinks that they don't have enough growth, or they don't think that the ownership has goals or has, I'll say it boils down to like leadership characteristics, right? Because if you're missing a lot of these goals, then it appears that you're lacking on leadership abilities. And this disconnect, obviously can cause people to leave the company and just not have that sense of vision to work and grind towards a particular thing.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
one of the big things culture wise that I tell our company and the employees of our company is that I don't want this to be an easy place to work. I want this to be a challenging place to work, right? I want those who don't want to, work hard, work long hours, who don't want to be dedicated to the company, then this may not be the place for them. But like that clear distinction, it may cause people to quit. However, it may get other people to get fired up. Like I literally had an employee today telling me that, I have a personal goal to get this company to $1 billion, right? And it's just because of due to like the culture that we're trying to distill here. And this is just the beginning. We only have, I would say a few employees, right? I anticipate we have hundreds and thousands of employees in the future, and I want this culture to be distilled across the entire organization.
That's awesome. Yeah, I talk a lot about culture simply boiling down to the alignment of values between the organization and the individual employee, right? And so to your earlier point, having those goals, that vision, that mission, the values publicized, and then having leadership live those values, live that mission, live the vision, it is going to lead to turnover initially, because there are going to be people who don't jive or align with that culture, right? Or that mission, vision, and values. But what it is going to do is it's going to bring out the people who want to work there, who believe the same things you do. And in your case with Elite, that's, I think, what you're building right now. Am I mistaken?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And another thing that we try to put in front of people is opportunity. Like this is a place for opportunity. I don't even know that I've publicly mentioned this one, but our COO of our company right now was hired as a PLC programmer.
Really?
So that gives like a perspective on like the opportunity that we allow here. One of the guys that we hired to do like quotation is now involved in multi-million-dollar project management. So like that opportunity is being raised to the individuals in the company that are like willing to step up.
And how are you career pathing these people? I mean, are you having conversations with them and saying, hey, where do you want to be in 3 years, in 5 years? And then helping them develop the skills to get there? Is that part of your process internally?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that we do is throwing things to people, right? Like some opportunity, let's say for like the project management comes up, and then seeing if that employee, either has previously mentioned that they want to get involved in that, or asking them at that point in time, is this something that you want to get involved in? One thing that we don't have the luxury of just yet is, with us being a younger and smaller company, it's harder to forecast what our future looks like, and in that, it's harder for us to give an exact clear path of where we can get somebody in the next next few years.
Sure.
You know,
Understandable.
really like the biggest leverage that we have is the ability to offer unlimited opportunity.
I like
Right,
that.
whatever you want to do in the company, wherever you want to be at in the company, do it. Be it, and if you step up to fill those type of roles, then you'll be the person that have those type of roles. Our financial person right now, let's just say we consider them our accountant, right, and our internal accountant. But the opportunity's been presented to them if you want to become the CFO of the company, right? But like
Wow.
there's certain like requirements that you have to meet. Maybe this person doesn't become that person, but for whoever does step up and shows that initiative, we'll have that opportunity.
I like that. I like it a lot. What are the values of Elite?
The values of Elite, honestly, it's like hard work. Kind of pushing forward and just striving to be your best. I would say our values are pretty simple. It literally is just that, just striving to become the best version of yourself. If you're the type of person that wants to like clock out early, then like you're not necessarily the person for us. And when it comes to, let's say, the customer side of things, like we're striving to produce like the best type of systems that we can, meaning that we engineer them with things that are maybe higher technology. Everything is like safety over Ethernet. Everything is, Ethernet and 24 volts, like plug and go type of wiring. So on the engineering side of things, like we're developing our systems to be the best that we potentially can. And, that's where the name Elite Automation came from. I wanted something that signified that we are the best in the industry, right? And regardless, I don't say we are there yet because we're just too young and too small, but, it's that goal to strive towards. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Because that gives the employees that vision, right? Just talking to you for less than 20 minutes, right? I know what your passion is, what your view of what your company is going to be and in the future of Elite. And that's to grow and to be the best in the industry. And so you're going to attract the employees that want to be part of that journey with you. Shifting gears a little bit, Malachi, let's talk about automation specifically. What kind of projects can you share with us that are like those standout projects that really highlight Elite's team and your innovation and your capabilities?
I'm not sure if I can share like exact names of like companies and projects and stuff like that, but I can give one example. Like we have a special purpose machine that we just developed. Um, a couple things like with this particular system, it was a system like I think most quotes were coming in at like around like 1 per million and stuff, and I think our quote ended up coming in at like 900. So we were like significantly better in pricing. But with this particular system, it has I think it's like 16 servo motors on it. We have 4 conveyors that are servo driven conveyors. We have 3 Festo gantry robots. We have 4 Fanuc Scara robots with IR vision. So I mean, just like the level of technology, there's like I think like 3 door interlocks on the system. All those door interlocks are SIP safety over Ethernet, and the push buttons and everything that are on them are all interfacing through Ethernet communication protocol. So it's just plug in 24, plug in Ethernet, and done.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, you're using terms and components that have evolved since even I was in an automation function with a previous employer a decade ago almost. How do you see the role of automation evolving in the manufacturing industry? And quick follow-up, what kind of trends or technologies are you super excited about?
One thing that I kind of foresee technology and a little bit culture-wise in the industry revolve directly towards automation is I think we'll start to see more companies that are like job shop-y or low production output facilities, and they are going to start to implement more automation. There's been a push for it, right? Like like universal robot and like welding and doing things like seam tracking. I think that it's being prematurely sold as of right now, right? I don't think I don't think the equipment is being outfitted appropriately majority of the time to really promote success. And when I say that, like, let's say, for instance, if you're going to have a collaborative robot do welding, I think every single welding collaborative robot that you're just having at a job shop should also have like a seam tracking vision camera on it as well. If not, then the thing is like the success of the actual end user, the maintenance person on the floor or the operator using it will become less. Like there's so many like universal robots that are just like sitting in the corner collecting dust because it was sold to them. Like, look how easy it is to set up. And that culture was not distilled into the employees to I don't want to say forcibly, but encourage them to use the equipment. And the technology wasn't necessarily there to make it functionally sufficient to be able to use.
Sure. So along those lines, how is automation reshaping the culture of manufacturing workplaces, right? How can it transform that shop culture?
Yeah. It was actually a funny thing, but I literally like this week started to write a book, and one of the like chapters that I kind of targeted on was culture a little bit, and just like distilling the culture in automation. I was thinking around the lines of a company that's looking to begin automating that don't necessarily have automation, and like some of the challenges that they're going to go through that process, and because there's gonna be all different levels. Like, where does the automation stem from, or the idea of automation stem from? Is it some employee that got hired who has a lot of experience from some industry, and so then that employee is coming to that company and trying to push the idea, and in that case, now he has to convince upper management, he has to the owners of the company, or those who are maybe the CFO, are going to have to approve budgets and whatnot for this. Is it coming from the CEO, and they know that like they need to automate and push the company towards a direction of automation. Maybe they don't even know much about automation, but they're thinking, I know we need to do it. Everybody's doing it, right? Our competitors are doing it. So, even at being CEO level, like this is one thing I found as a CEO. Just because the CEO wants to do something, there's still other pushback. This is the culture part of it that you're going to get pushback from other people. Maybe the CFO doesn't want to release that amount of money for budget to invest in the automation, and so you need to go and have meetings that are really presenting like the advantage of automation, and also tailored as well. So obviously, if like a CEO is talking to a CFO, then he's definitely going to need to be talking on the numbers side of things, right? He's going to need to talk about like how much money it's going to save them, how much money it's going to make them, how much more throughput that the facility will have the ability to do, and so that tailored conversation will then get the buy-in of that CFO. And then if you're to take it back to like the shop floor level, that the all the executives of the company could be on board, and they buy this universal robot. And if the culture's not there to use this universal robot, then it's going to get used a few times. Somebody's going to experience some complications, and then if somebody don't continually drive that, then it won't happen. And one of the other things that I noted is that one of the major issues on why like the collaborative robot space struggles is because it's generally a lower investment, so therefore upper management doesn't care as much. If upper management, they spent $40,000 on a universal robot, they may write it off as a loss. Oh, okay, that universal robot thing didn't work out. It was a nice try, but it didn't work out. Versus if it's a $1 million project, they're going to say, guys, we need to get this thing up and running. Like this thing needs to be functioning.
Absolutely. Well, and I think there's something to be said for that automation cultural paradox, right? Which I think is what you're alluding to there. That idea that not every organization is culturally set up to be an innovative company that adopts innovation strategies and automation strategies into their manufacturing mix. Is that kind of what you're leading us to there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many companies that like I'll walk into and I can almost immediately, as a salesperson, almost get the feeling of, okay, I'm kind of wasting my time here, because the cultural push is so big to switch this company over, and seeing so many processes that are not automation ready. Like they have process issues that they need to fix. I'll give a perfect example that you see this in a ton of the industry. Stamped parts are getting thrown in a Gaylord. After you throw a part in a Gaylord, you just made it extremely complicated to automate that. You know, so like practices like that they make it extremely complicated to shift to automation.
Got it. Yeah, back in my days of being a true salesman, I used to be able to walk in a shop and I could tell almost instantaneously what the culture was like, right? The first clue to me is, are the employees engaging with the
You're good.
Are the employees engaging with the guests? Are they making eye contact with guests, or are they looking down at their parts or at their shoes, right? That to me was a first sign of whether it was a healthy culture or not, because the people who are looking at their shoes or not looking up from their work, they're going to get in trouble for engaging with somebody that walks into their shop. So yeah. how do you think, I was just trying to think, and I'll delete that pregnant pause there. How do you think advanced automation technologies are influencing the way teams collaborate and communicate in manufacturing?
I would say one thing that's really helping on the technology side, as far as like being able to bring automation into the scene, is going back to like that example of the parts being thrown into a Gaylord, and now you just made it extremely complicated to automate. Now we're starting to get technologies like bin picking vision, which are starting to give us the capability to be able to overcome that issue. Right now, we can stare inside of a bin with randomly thrown parts and get some vision data to be able to collect those, and it's all being done inside of let's say an AI type of tool, right? And so that makes it extremely, I don't want to say easy, but it gives us the capability to automate things. Like the number one limitation of automation for like even a company like ours is what is the ability of the piece of equipment, right? Like if I was just to throw like a 2D or 3D regular vision camera at a Gaylord and try to pick the parts out of it, you would just get so much inconsistency in like the repeatability of the system. And also you would have to write so much of like a complex algorithm on like what the robot should do during this situation, because you got to think you're identifying like all these parts, right? I don't want to get too technical, but point being, it's taking something that would be extremely complicated, almost impossible for us to do, and is now giving us a tool where now it's parsing out through like the AI tools and whatnot. These bin picking companies, like say for instance, Keyence has one that's like an off the shelf bin picking solution. This is then giving us the ability and the tools to be able to automate these type of processes. In turn, going back to culture, this is now giving companies that were in that scenario that I mentioned where you walk in and you can just kind of tell like they're not set up at all for automation. Now we could throw this bin picking tool at that scenario and potentially start implementing automation and through that process.
That's awesome. And it's got to help with, I mean, we are in manufacturing. Safety has to be a part of every one of your clients' cultures, right? Whether they know it or not. So how does automation enhance safety and potentially even work-life balance? And how does that change that workplace culture?
So for the safety side of things, I think a lot of big companies have already figured this out, that automation helps with safety. I actually spent a good amount of my career in the automotive glass sector. So if you could imagine that's pretty dangerous, especially when you have a broken piece of glass. And, so whenever you have the option of a human loading this piece of glass, and a lot of times it's two humans because the glass is so heavy, and you can turn that into an automated robot picking solution, you completely eliminated the human being around that hazard.
Got it.
And then to like switch gears on the work-life balance side of things, I think this is a much more major societal goal and target that we have to have. One of our slogans is freeing humans one robot at a time, and it's really tailored towards like that. Like, we're not large enough or anything to have an impact in this, but maybe we can become large enough of a company. And this is part of the reason for becoming one of the largest companies in the world, is then we will be able to have like the financial influence to maybe like speak with lobbyists, speak with government officials, and start having conversations on how can we modify our societal culture, and how can we take things like automation and turn it into a tool to like buy back life for people, right? So that way people are not missing their kids' soccer, football games and dance recitals and stuff like that because they had to work overtime and they're forced to work overtime some evening. We're in the perfect pivotal moment, especially now we have AI too. Like this is a perfect pivotal moment where we could, somehow, like the biggest thing is we're challenged to fight against capitalism, which I'm a capitalist anyway, but capitalism and giving, people free time they don't really go together, right? Because, capitalism, you're just trying to make more money. Essentially. And so definitely is a challenge in how we would be able to adapt that. However, now we're reaching a point where robotics, AI are going to have the ability to take on a lot of jobs that we're currently doing and have the ability to buy us back a lot of time. This is one big thing that I hear a lot is like they're concerned about, are people going to lose jobs due to this, right? And my thought on this is let there be job losses. However, how can we incentivize and flip this into like some type of thing where they can get they're still paid, right? They can still maintain their livelihood. It was Andrew Yang. He had the universal income thing. I thought that was a really cool concept because at least it creates a basis of living where everybody can make some certain amount of money, and then whatever you decide to do with your life outside of that, do it. right? Like if you
Yeah.
want to work some job to make extra money, or if you want to, I think we need to think towards some goals like that.
No, I don't disagree with you. I actually wrote an article for ThomasNet on human-centered leadership, right? And putting the people of organizations above the profits. And I know that's hard in this society, and it's hard as organizations grow and they get bigger and there's less individual touch with each employee within a facility. But we really do need to put the humans that work for us ahead of those profits, because then those humans are going to work harder for us in the long run. But back to your point, I think that automation provides, and this is my unintelligent, non-subject matter expert view at automation, but automation provides an opportunity to upskill employees, right? It may take away some of that tedious, that repetitive, dangerous jobs that my parents' generation warned an entire generation and a half about manufacturing and why we have the skills gap we have to begin with. But I do think that there's an opportunity to upskill people to be able to program those robots, to be able to program the AI. But I love your visionary outlook on creating an opportunity for people to work and provide when they feel it's appropriate, I think is what I got from what you said. Did I capture that all right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Go ahead.
Oh, so yeah, another thing to add to like what you just mentioned there about, adding automation and how people get to upskill, it also creates like a level of excitement, because instead of somebody coming in and picking some part off of a machine and throwing it into some gaylord or packing it into a box, now they have like this robotic system. They walk up, they look at it, they see, like, maybe they see what type of alarms happened that day, right? It's a HMI screen, so it's like similar to a tablet if you don't know what an HMI is, but
Right.
they're able to like mess around with the interface, and even some companies, I really like this, depends on the company, it goes back to company culture, but some companies will even allow, and I really like this, they allow individuals who have no career experience, no educational experience in automation or robotics, and they're training them up to be able to at least jog the robot. I'll give an example for like some of the welding operations that we get involved in, right? Robotic weld cell. There's occasions where maybe the robot faults out because the wire missed the piece of metal, or maybe there was a child part missing, and so the wire didn't detect the weld was occurring, so therefore it faulted the robot out and the system stops. Okay. Well, now you have a system down condition, and you're given the opportunity for whoever this person is to go into the robot cell. They've been trained on like lockout, tag out, and they go into the system and are able to jog that robot out of its stuck position, go outside the cell, cycle start it, right? And so like for somebody to be able to say like, hey, I got to jog a robot today, like that might be something that's very intriguing to them and really might spark their interest. And I was actually at a company where I experienced this same scenario, and it grew to a point where somebody was taking on enough initiative that they went ahead and sent the person to FANUC school. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, from being nothing but just an operator to now sending them to FANUC school to be able to handle more maintenance level tasks with the robot.
I love that. You, as I read in your bio or your intro, you have a strong interest in transforming education through technology. Perfect segue. Thank you for that was unintentional, but thank you for that. Can you expand on this vision and what role does automation play in that?
Yeah, so one thing about like all education, or majority of education, is that education does not generally come with a lot of funding, right? And so it's generally a low invested thing. If you go look at colleges and other training organizations, their investment towards like their training labs and whatnot, they're really not that great of an investment. And it's because they just can't, right? The feasibility is not there. They don't have the funding necessary to be able to do that. So I think one thing that's very important is the ecosystem around training, right? And you see this to some degree where like, a company will be embedded with a college where, like, let's say first we have Ivy Tech Community College here, and they're embedded with Toyota, and there's people who go to like Ivy Tech's Toyota program. There's like a list of particular courses and stuff. But I think you can get to a much deeper level where there's more integration, right? Like how can, people maybe come to a facility like ours and get more involved in like project stuff that we're doing, and be able to do this and also get credits for it, right? Again, there's a level of this already occurring, but like it's like one semester out of the year, or one semester out of the entire program, right? That you get like this co-op working type of program. And then long-term vision is like, I anticipate like us starting a school, right? We be that educational facilitator because we will be set up in a way to have that ability, right? Similar to like, a Fanic. They're developing the Fanic robot. Their Fanic training is very good, very specific towards, the robot itself. Same with a lot of the other makers like Iskawa and Kuka and UR. They have really good trainings, and they give you the tools to be able to train on. But taking those back to like a shop environment and being able to integrate all the different systems together to work together, that's a whole nother thing. And automation offers one of the best experiences to multiple different types of technologies, right? Like it's the only, I don't want to say it's the only, but it is the only like sector of the industry where you get involved in every single product and you get involved at a building it from the ground up standpoint.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, man. What advice would you give somebody who's looking to get into this industry, straight out of high school, or even as we're seeing now with some people leaving more corporate white collar jobs and turning into, as one of my previous guests said, baby blue collar jobs? What kind of advice do you have for those individuals?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really depends on what they're looking to do with their career. I personally just agree with advancement. I'm always an advancement type of person. I don't think anybody, and I don't think a good society can ever be set up on a hierarchy system where people are always advancing and there's always like a younger generation coming in behind you. This is something that we did in culture for hundreds and thousands of years, is like, as like an elder person got older, like the younger generation kind of took care of them. And
Right.
So, with that being said, that same type of culture needs to happen in like the workforce. So, if somebody's going to start their job as a line operator, they should also work towards like, how do they become like some type of robot tech or some other further skill set, quality manager, things like that. And then the next person behind them, comes in, they're the operator. Like, I think culture like that within a company is extremely important. And that's something for like the leadership of the company to also try to distill, like, how can they put initiatives in place to make sure that happens? And then just career wise, like, if somebody's deciding to go to college, get a job in the industry doing the thing, right? If you're wanting to go for like some type of automation related job task, like, I see so many people, they'll go to college for, let's say, automation, and then they'll go work at McDonald's. It's like, right. Why would you do that? Like, experience is the number one thing that really gains you the knowledge and the ability to do more, right? Like, when I look at like somebody's resume, I don't even really look at their college unless they're a junior that we're hiring. Yeah. And unless it's a junior we're hiring, and we already have expectations they're not going to be able to do much, but like, what are their experiences? Are they from the mechanical field? Are they from the electrical field? What sector programming are they from?
Sure.
So those are the things that I'll look at, right? And so like the more somebody can tailor their experience towards the thing that they want to do, the better, right? Yeah. Do programming things if you want to become a robot programmer. And if for some reason like you're struggling to get like into like being able to do robot programming, maybe at least if you're doing like PC programming for your job, that at least the programming aspect is relatable enough that, if you can do PC programming, you can probably also do robot programming, as it's more of a structured, defined language versus like C++ or something like that with thousands of instructions. Like, right. A Fanic robot has like 50 instructions. You know what I mean? So like,
sure. I like that. So before I get to the last question, which is always the most fun, what are 3 things in your estimation that companies can do to improve their culture by using automation?
Yeah. So, really to improve like a company's culture, through automation, one of the biggest things is the excitement. It's also presenting opportunity to them as well. They can learn some higher skill set. I really think that the challenge is the other way around, right? Like, I don't know that we necessarily automate for culture itself. We automate for like throughput and the ability to make money in a business and save money, or safety things. The challenge with culture and automation is it's distilling that culture, for the automation, right? To get people on board with the automation, especially early on. again, like the primary advantages are for like the culture of the company itself is one thing that could definitely help the company is if you have a culture revolved around automation. And this was one of the other points that I added was that the getting engineers where engineers are assigned to finding and requesting for automation budgets is a great culture to have, right? Because if you have a culture where all your engineers are on the ground, on the floor, examining what the processes are that have the highest ROI, that have the most simplicity to be able to automate and execute the automation. If that culture is there, then the company will inherently grow in automation. It'll grow in its proficiency, and it'll become like a self-sustaining, right? And then the culture is embedded, and it'll continue to grow.
I love it. I love it. I like that a lot. Malachi, what haven't I asked you that you want to share with the listeners? And this is one of my favorite questions just because it sometimes catches people off guard, but we get some really neat sound bites from it. So what haven't I asked you that you want to talk about with the listeners today?
Oh, man. Yep. This is definitely a good open-ended question. I mean, I think people should just strive to be the best version of themselves. I think they should, always continually try to learn, should look at, their life and where they want to be at in some particular period of time. I think a lot about like just happiness in general. I think about like people's happiness, my personal happiness. I think it's super important for people to really reflect on it and think about it and think about the things that they're currently doing. I always like to live by, if I'm 85 years old and I'm on my deathbed, what are the things in life that I'll regret? And so I think we need to constantly look at life and make sure that there's not something in life that we will reach a certain age and really regret. I mean, it could be anything. It could be anything from, playing too many video games and maybe ignoring your kids, or it could be like drinking too much alcohol or whatever, right? I mean, heck, it could even be a somewhat positive thing. One thing that I constantly shift on is fitness. How much should I work out versus how much is fitness actually taking away from some other thing that I should be doing in life? And for a couple of years, I quit. I basically quit working out. I just cut it out. I'm very good at like, I'll identify something and I'll cut it out and I'll say, okay, I can't do this no more. I got to do this other thing, right? Okay. And so I did that with fitness. I was like, okay, I have too many business things going on. I got to get us to a point where we're doing more in sales, and I also got to be more involved in like the execution of these projects because we're starting to grow and more things are moving in the company. So I didn't have the time to really devote towards anything extra, really, right? So that was something that I had to reflect on, make a hard decision, and this is what we need to do, and to make sure that the outcome is going to be a positive outcome, because it could have been highly likely that I continued to do the gym thing, which is something that I'm highly passionate about. But the company would have died, right? Yeah. Like, it's highly plausible. I'm really passionate about martial arts, but I haven't done martial arts for like, I don't know, 7-8 years or something like that, because it hasn't, aligned well enough with life and business and everything that I have going on. I also have 6 kids, so we got the kids in wrestling though, so that's a nice all right.
Your beard might get tugged on if you do too much martial arts with that sucker, man.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. Well, thank you, Malachi. I appreciate your time today, man. Thank you for joining us. This was an awesome conversation. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And folks, that's a wrap on today's episode of the Manufacturing Culture Podcast. I want to extend another huge thank you to our guest, Malachi Greb, for joining us and sharing such valuable insights. We've journeyed through the fascinating world of innovation, uncovering how hardware is not just a tool, but a catalyst for cultural transformation in the manufacturing sector. Malachi's stories and perspectives have truly highlighted the innovative spirit driving this change. Don't forget to keep the conversation going by visiting our website at Manufacturing. Here you can dive deeper into today's topics, find past episodes, and get a sneak peek at what's coming up next. Again, a special shout out to Spironi for their incredible support and sponsorship. Spironi's cutting edge tools and solutions align perfectly with this month's theme, demonstrating how the right hardware can propel cultural advancements in manufacturing. Their commitment to innovation and excellence is a testament to the transformative power of technology in our industry. And now, our ask to you, our amazing listeners. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with your friends, your colleagues, and anyone else who's passionate about manufacturing culture as we are. Your shares and recommendations help us grow and bring more exciting content your way. The stuff you love. And also, before you exit out of whatever podcast platform you're listening to, we'd love for you to rate and review the show. Your feedback not only helps us improve, but also helps others find us in the vast podcast universe, because every time you like us, every time you rate and review the show, it rockets us up the charts and gives us an opportunity to be explored by other people. So thank you again for tuning in. And remember, whether it's the latest technology or the people behind the machines, it's all part of the manufacturing culture. Stay inspired. We'll catch you on the next episode. Have a great day and keep making things.